Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can. This is Daniel Johnson from Venza.
Hello.
Hi there. Is this a large? Am I being played over a large gathering? Is there a number of people there?
Can we get it from here?
You should be able to. So this default wise should send your audio down to HDMI. Were you just getting it from the laptop?
That's all I heard so far, yeah.
Make sure this is turned on.
There we go.
This can get pretty loud. Do we have a way to test it, or should I know the volume in here?
It could be just the.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So left and right.
I'll probably get it myself.
Yeah. So I got about 35. Maybe more or less. You can.
This is how these meetings are.
Yeah.
Straight in. Concentrate and turn it off. Correct. Is there anything else?
No, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about the delay, but we are ready to start when you are.
Oh, you are. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You see a little mountain there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So I am getting a bit of feedback here from the audio. So what I can do is I will have the chat feature open. Can you see where the chat feature is in the tools to the right?
Flat down a little bit and we let the TV.
Yeah, no, that's much better. Yes.
Okay, I just put a little something there so you can see that. What I'm going to do is I will in order to avoid, well, no, there isn't any more echo, so we're fine the way it is. But if you want to get my attention, certainly use that chat, and we can move forward. Can I get it? Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get a hallelujah on that one from someone? Does that work? So were you able to find the chat? Hello, are we there? I got you. I see yourself muted. If you could just confirm in the chat, that would be great, or you can talk.
We're sending things in the question/chat area, but I don't know if you're seeing them.
Okay, I see nothing in the, well, I see a question that says TEP from Kristen.
That's supposed to be yep.
Oh, okay. I thought it was new lingo there in Minneapolis. They call.
Okay.
So yeah, I see the questions, and then the two just below that, you should also see chat, and that could be maybe a little bit. I'll keep that open. Can you see chat? I've written a couple of things there for you.
So are you able to read my text?
Have you sent something in the chat, or is it only in the questions? Do you see where it says chat?
It says question/chat
In the right by that next to the left. Can you, is there a field there?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
What about here?
It's just it doesn't allow me to keep them both open. So I was, and the chat is easier to manage. Is it? That's fine. I will. Okay, I can see what about here. I see the latest. Okay, good. I'll keep the
Okay,
questions
got it.
open. Yep. I'll keep the questions open, and then we can go from there. So so great. I appreciate. How many people are there in the room today? How big a crowd do we have? So no, I'll just, I guess if you could put that in the questions. We are 9. Okay, we have 9 people. Great. Well, I appreciate you you assembling this morning. It's what? It's 8:15 in the morning there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I was born in Minneapolis and grew up in the Twin Cities area, so it's nice to have to be speaking with folks back home today. I actually did my undergraduate work there in Minneapolis, and yeah, I will be back in July to visit Grandma up on the lake later this year. So, but presently I run our European office. I'm in The Hague in the Netherlands, and so pleased to be able to be here and speak to you about about data security, about PCI, and some of the trends that are happening. I don't know how much you know about Venza, but one thing that you'll soon find out is we have this alpine, this mountaineering theme in everything we do. The purpose for that mountaineering theme is really kind of threefold. One is data security, data privacy, protecting guest data. Can feel like quite a trek, and so it can feel like you're having to go to climb a mountain, and that can be challenging. Another reason is that we see ourselves as guides, as navigators, helping you get forward on that journey. And the third is that that by taking slow, methodical steps, you can climb your way up and get a better visibility of the landscape. So that's why we use that theme in everything we do, and that's what we've got in today's conversation. So we're talking about data security today. So it's not. It is a journey, and it can feel like climbing a mountain. And where the rock face is steep and difficult to make your way up. I'm going to just adjust my my audio here so I can hear. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. So moving on, what we say is just because it's difficult, just because it can be a challenge, doesn't mean that it isn't something that is necessary. So what are the steps to take? So that's what we've got today, just to share with you what steps are necessary to make your way on top of that mountain. So the first big step, important step, is one second. Just want to make sure that you are seeing my screen. Okay. One big important step is paying attention to what's happening out there. There are, and this is a conservative estimate, roughly 1 million malware attacks launched on a daily basis. There are roughly $400 million worth of loss from the records that are stolen on an annual basis. The numbers 23, 24, 25, and 26 are significant. May be helpful you to remember as you go back to your work today. If someone says, "Well, what was the presentation about?" You can say, "Well, there were 23, 24, 25, and 26. And if you can remember what those numbers are, significance are, I'll share with you, and hopefully you can remember them. 23 is the average number of days that an organization's systems are compromised when they are victimized by a ransomware attack. So 23 days is the period of time on average that organizations are compromised by a ransomware attack. 24 is the number of hours in the day, and that is the reference to well over 1 million malware attacks are being launched on a daily basis. 25 is a reference to the 25th of May, tomorrow, which is the day that the enforcement of the General Data Protection Regulation is put into place. So that 25th, it's not necessarily that the importance of the GDPR, although it's a wide sweeping regulation, but it is the fact that it's a growing trend across industries or across countries. Japan has accountability-based privacy law. Canada does. Australia does. India is incorporating something very much like the GDPR. Certainly with Europe and the GDPR, there are 47 different PII statutes across the U.S. There's a lot of discussion about creating an accountability-based privacy law that mimics the GDPR in the U.S. It is the trend of developed nations. Mexico has a privacy law very similar to that of the GDPR already. So this is not something that's going to go away. So the 25 represents those accountability-based privacy laws that we need to pay attention to. And the number 26 is the percentage of businesses worldwide that were struck by a ransomware attack in 2017. That number in 2016 was a mere 13%. So it has doubled. It doubled in between 2016 and 2017. No reason to think that that there will be any less with regards to cyber attacks and other such data security breaches. So other bullet points, you see the 25th of May, GDPR enforcement begins. In 2016, PCI DSS launched 3.2. That will be an enforcement as of 2018. Such with requirements such as 12.11, requiring quarterly review process, ensuring personnel are following security policies and operational procedures. You're seeing more and more, and this is very much the case with the GDPR, more and more about privacy protection and the organizational needs versus security controls, which a lot of PCI has been, but they've incorporated a lot of these training and organizational procedural aspects, which is very consistent with the GDPR. So this is something you might be paying attention to. The Brexit vote in 2017, and also certainly the PII statutes. So a lot of that is going on worldwide. And concerns about concerns about attachments and how to respond to it. Do you need to have a Bitcoin account just so you can prepare yourself for ransomware attacks such as the WannaCry attack? So quick guide tip here is to make sure that you keep an eye out for ransomware attacks and prepare your organization. One of the things that you'll see and what Venza does on this front, we're all about preparing organizations with, say, phishing campaigns, phishing simulations, things that you need to do, or break room posters, things you need to do to communicate this to your team. We talk about a human firewall, making sure that everybody's on the right, singing from the same sheet of music, making sure that your organization is prepared to identify any kind of threat actors that are out there. So recognizing the trends, privacy in the data security space, and ever complex landscape. Again, right there, you see 23, 24, 25, 26. You see, I'm trying to drive home that topic. We're seeing more and more of data security threats out there, and certainly the trend being towards more accountability-based privacy laws in the on a political front. In terms of how it applies to the hospitality industry, year over year, hospitality is one of the top 3 most targeted industries in the world for data security challenges. This has to do with a number of reasons. One is historically, or I should say, perhaps typically, hotels can be somewhat porous with regards to their controls and their data security capabilities. You've got records that stay open multiple days as people stay. It's a very complex landscape with regards to the tech stack, and in terms of all of the variety of different systems that have access to sensitive data as a guest's data journey progresses from a GDS or OTA to a loyalty program with the brand to the actual hotel, etc. So hospitality is an easy target. Most data breaches occur from a POS. That's in terms of credit card breaches, but we're seeing more and more targeting of IoT, some of the emerging tech that's out there for guest enhancement programs. Lots of information about guests being shared through those programs and customer loyalty programs. So lots out there. You may have heard some of the chatter about data breaches. Some of these are newer. Some of them have been around for a while. It is something that we've been monitoring for quite some time, and it's just getting more and more intense. Referencing other aspects, a lot of times when we talk about data security, people neglect some of the social engineering attacks, such as the Aaron Andrews case, which is a number of years ago now, with regards to the Aaron Andrews being stalked and information about Aaron Andrews being provided by the hotel staff. So that certainly had repercussions to Marriott as well as the stalker himself. In that $55 million verdict. So lots on that front. Oh, I'm sorry, a little too fast there. So quick tip, organizations, we suggest think beyond just getting compliance, PCI DSS or GDPR, thinking about a more comprehensive viewpoint of data security and data privacy. So go beyond your compliance, and a lot of this has to do with really positioning your organization to be a trusted data steward with sensitive information of guests. And thinking in terms of that, when we talk about GDPR, a lot of organizations are taking advantage of this moment in time because as hotels, you act as a data controller. Those third-party groups that operate as processors, your vendors, they have a subordinate role to you, and frequently it doesn't feel that way as an individual hotelier. It may feel as though you're being told what to do by the brand, and you're given a very finite list of options from, say, a PMS vendor or some other system provider, supplier. You, as a data controller, are in an interesting moment in time where you have the arrangement, the social contract with the guest, and knowing that you have this important relationship, you can make demands on your supplier, and if they fail to fulfill against their demands, you're in a position to demand recourse, or maybe it's time to vet other vendors at at your existing vendor's cost. This is a moment where you have an incredible power. You've got great responsibility, but you also have power. And so, you know, finding a strategy to utilize that is smart business. So just a quick question: do you know the term for when multiple systems flood the bandwidth or resources of a targeted system in order to compromise it? Just wondering if anyone knows that that phrase. You can, if you'd like to unmute yourself or put it in the question box or the chat box. Does anyone have that answer?
What was that? POS. Denial of service. Denial of service.
Very good. I don't know who that was, but that's exactly right. Denial of service. All right. Well done. Somebody is adequately caffeinated this morning. That's good. So big step number 3, understanding the consequences when it comes to data security breaches or data security just challenges. There are compensation costs, perhaps to the data subjects or the card holder. Legal action can be taken, especially in terms of identity fraud or identity theft, bank fines, federal audits, remediation costs, lost revenue. If I mentioned the 23 days that your organization may be compromised from ransomware. We had a situation here a couple of years ago in Europe where there was a ransomware attack, and the hackers hacked into the door lock system and locked all the doors so no one could come in. They could go out, but they could not come back in to a locked door, and no one is able to access that. So that can mean serious disruption in the services that the property provides, and then damage reputation. And just a little asterisk there, the EU, the GDPR fines for organizations that fail to satisfy against the GDPR, if they are assuming they are in scope of the GDPR, those fines are substantial at 20 million euros per fine, or it's actually 20 million euros or 4% of global revenue, whichever is larger. So pretty significant stuff. So this little article from Forbes that I've highlighted over here talks about if your information is stolen from credit card, it might not be a big deal as a private individual, but it certainly can be. It can provide incredible consequences to your organization. So big consequences there. So guide tip here: know the dangers, know what's out there with regards to data security. And so one of the things that we present, we see ourselves as guides or coaching you along the way throughout the entire program. We give you heads up on vulnerabilities that we see, maybe that be in your area, specific to your organization, and then give you notifications of trends that are out there to be aware of. Big step number 4, know the requirements. Know requirements with regards to your networking. Have a vulnerability management program in place. Monitor and test your networks. Protect cardholder data. Have access control measures. Have your security policies and your privacy policies updated. I've no doubt that many of you have seen everything from news organizations to Garmin watches to Apple to Microsoft sending messages saying that we are complying to the GDPR, and here's our updated policy. So information security policies know what's required of you and what you need to communicate. A little bit about Venza. We want, a guide tip is to work with the right partner. We are heavily involved not with the PCI DS or with PCI itself. We are located here in The Hague to be a part of the Hague Security Delta. It's Europe's largest cybersecurity cluster, and we are also strongly involved with HFTP. As for example, I'm on the GDPR task force for HFTP, and if any of you are attending High Tech Houston next month, you'll certainly find the Venza team there. So being involved with the right organizations, make sure you're partnering with someone that knows what they're doing. So what is the term for the technique of stealing personally identifiable information by following an authorized person into a secure area? So here's another chance for you to test your wit. Anybody? I can give you a hint. It's one of these three: baiting, fishing, or tailgating. Okay, I think I heard it. I heard someone say tailgating. Yeah, that's the term when somebody strolls in, and we do a lot of on-site visits at Venza, and I quite like doing this. I'm a middle-aged bald white guy, and so usually I'm paying a visit to properties in a suit, and it's amazing how much they don't pay attention to me. And so I frequently just stroll in and can walk to the back office and just wait until somebody tries to stop me. And sometimes they just assume that I'm there for a reason and they leave me be. It would be so easy to walk in, and if there are guest folios on display, if there are passwords on a post-it note on a monitor, if that kind of thing is existing in your organization and your team is not thinking about protecting those secure areas and paying attention to the people that might be wandering around, you have a serious degree of vulnerability. Last week there was an article about identity theft, and the #1 cause of identity theft for just private individuals isn't some sophisticated hacking technique used or skimmers at ATM machines and all these other high-tech gadgets, but rather simply shoulder surfing, which is just looking over someone's shoulder while they're on their iPhone or Android, and taking a picture of their details, especially if they're tapping in passwords, and then recording that and then hacking into their private access. So one of the things that we do is we promote that general awareness of your surroundings and the dangers that you may have. Something that we used to do quite a bit when we'd go in, this is a little bit anecdotal, but I used to like to put with my colleague, put a $20 bill on the front desk and then say, oh wait, I need to go pay for my taxi, and leave that $20 bill there, and then meanwhile have on the other side of the front desk leave a credit card or a passport, and then do the same thing, and see how the staff respond to these two valuable items that are on the front desk, and it's amazing to see how much they watch to make sure that $20 bill stays there for the guest, and how little they pay attention to the passport. A little bit more little they pay attention to the credit card. They pay a little more to the passport, but that credit card is so much more valuable than those $20, and the impact is so much greater. But they're thinking about, they see an inherent value there, and so the question is, are we training our staff to be thinking about the importance of protecting data, such as credit card data? So assemble a team. Big step number 5, assign accountability across the team. One of the things in the GDPR is creating accountability in the form of a data protection officer. That's kind of a compliance officer, a data protection advocate for the organization. This is someone that operates as the point of contact with official organizations, governmental organizations, as well as the oversees and monitors third-party suppliers, and then also drives the organizational changes, making sure that everyone on the team is following a data protection protocol. So that data protection officer is an important role. So assign accountability within your organization who can take on some of these roles. Make sure you're speaking with legal counsel about data security and what kind of liability you may have when it comes to a crisis such as a data breach. Seek professional help and verify any claims that you have by vendors and providers. One of the things we frequently hear is people or hoteliers say, well, we don't have to worry about PCI compliance because our PMS vendor and POS vendors are both PCI compliant. If that's what they've fed you, it's bad information. As a vendor, as a merchant, you too have to be PCI compliant. And so if there is a breach, if there is an issue with your payment card processing, they'll be covered, but they're not going to cover you. So make sure you verify whatever claims from your vendors and other providers. So get commitments from your team as well as your partners is one of the things that we do. And one of the things that we include in our program is data breach coverage. So if there is a crisis that you have to deal with, make sure that you've got an insurance policy to help cover those costs. It can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. So develop a plan. So put the theory to put into practice. Get your things together and communicate that vision across the organization. So the way we operate, we work from a year-to-year basis and really schedule out things that will work for your organization. So whatever way you want to put forth a plan of action, you make sure that that you've communicated that to your team. So a guide tip here: inform your people. This is enroll them in the behavioral change that you're looking to have to take place. And so not enroll them necessarily like enrolling them into a course, but enroll them kind of emotionally so they see that it's important to the organization and important to them. One of the really great things that we've had we've experienced is speaking with associates from the hotel front desk staff, housekeeping, etc., that have been a part of our program, and their experience of being part of that program is they come to realize, wow, I was doing this with my information, and I never thought about the dangers that were that were out there. So they are seeing how this can provide value to their personal lives, which is really satisfying for our team. All right, another question, St. Bernard question. By the way, we use the St. Bernard as our kind of mascot guide for the Alpine theme that I had mentioned at the beginning. So what is the technique for stealing personally identifiable information using legitimate looking emails? Yeah, phishing. Okay, that's good. And I think we've seen that these are getting a little progressively easier. So and the goal is that as we go through the program, you can feel more and more better about yourself. See how informed you already are. That's great. So big step number 7: get yourself into action. Rally the team and launch a program. You don't necessarily have to have everything done all at once, but making sure that you're getting started is super important, and it can create a little bit of extra buffer if there is a crisis to show that you have at least taken some steps. So whether that be conducting vulnerability scans, conducting a PCI readiness assessment, or launching a learning program, there are some quick hit steps that you can take straight away, and really show that you're doing your due diligence. And like so many other things, these hackers and the bad guys that are out there, they got into this. The typical stereotypical profile of a data hacker is someone that's pretty smart but extremely lazy. If they're hardworking, they probably wouldn't get into that line of business. And so the goal is not necessarily make your organization as airtight with regards to data security. Certainly that would be nice, but a lot of benefit can be made just by making your organization a little less easy to access than your neighbor. It's kind of the you don't have to outrun the bear, just outrun your fellow campers kind of scenario. And so taking some substantive steps is the best thing you can do, and round out your program when you can get to it. But don't wait and think that you have to have everything in place all at once, is a suggestion. So, whether it be launching phishing simulations and et cetera, this is really important. And so always make that process interactive. Went a little too far here. Making it interactive, whether it be through e-learning, and we utilize a gaming approach, making it fun, leveraging some simple interdepartmental competition can lighten the subject matter. It can feel rather dull talking about data security, but if you can inject a little fun into it, it can go a long way. A little bit of effort can go a long way. St. Bernard question D, which policy addresses the appropriate use of personal devices at work? Anybody? I didn't catch that. Anybody? That one's a tough one. A little bit. So some people call it you bring your own device policy or computer and internet usage policy. Frequently, these policies will roll up into the acceptable use policy, which is an important policy that you may likely have. So acceptable use policy, I would have accepted that, but your bring your own device policy is frequently referenced, and that's happening more and more. Certainly with people having access to their own device, and if they're accessing the network, they're accessing an email, if they're accessing systems that are part of your network on their devices, you better make sure that policy is buttoned up and people are clear on how they should be using those devices. All right, step 8. We're almost to the top of the mountain here. So monitor your progress. Follow the plan. Evaluate how you are doing. We utilize a dashboard that you can access and see how well people are doing. You can, if you're utilizing a game, make sure that you share those results. But monitor your progress. This isn't something that you just put on the shelf. It doesn't have to be necessarily something that you labor over and take a lot of time, but don't fall into the trap of saying, well, it's March, we're going to launch our data security training today, and so oh, you missed it yesterday. Well, we'll do it again next March. I mean, that's not helpful. It's something that should be happening throughout the year. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but make small steps throughout the year and monitor how well you're doing. And that one last guide tip: keep track of the progress you're making. So that puts you, if you follow those steps, that puts you what we believe at the top of the mountain. And at this time, I'll open it up. If you've got any questions or comments or anything that you'd like for me to expand on.
Daniel, can you just, since we started this a little on the fly there, can you go through what exactly Venza is and give a more overview of the products and services that you guys provide?
Sure. What I'll do is I'll just open up, I'll just share with you our website. So we are a little over 10 years old. I am one of two co-founders of Venza. We have our America's headquarters, global headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm in our European office in The Hague, in the Netherlands. We are data security programs for hospitality. Our primary packages are listed on the screen here. We're kind of get fixated on that, on the fact that 52% of data breaches are the result of some kind of human error. And so I think a lot of organizations look at, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Are you seeing my website? My website? Is it? Are you seeing a website? Okay. Because I see what. Oh, okay. Audience view was not populating. Very great. So so yeah, the 52% is something that we think is kind of staggering, and a lot of organizations think, oh, data security, I'm going to buy a better firewall. I'm going to put technology. I'm going to invest in technology, and I think that can be, while there are technologies out there that can certainly help, it can seem like it's good money, throwing good money after bad. With so much of the challenge being with the people, that's where we frequently start. And we think that you can turn that challenge into an asset. Turn the fact that, if you can turn your people into being good data stewards and that quote unquote human firewall that are looking out for the best interest of your guests and your enterprise, then you're gonna be in a lot better shape. So all of our programs that you see, we've gone all out with our alpine, their mountaineering themes. So all of our packages are named after big mountains. So the Matterhorn is really just focused on that, on the training aspect. So that's where you get the learning modules and the game, access to a portal to matriculate, and then also the tracking and reporting and certificates that come along with that, posters and job aids. So that's all the learning interventions available. The Denali is our most popular of the three packages. That includes awareness audits, and we do phishing campaigns. That gets you policies, and it also provides you $100,000 US data breach coverage per property. And then the Everest is sort of the Cadillac, if you will, of our packages, and that includes network scanning, a compliance portal for PCI, and security engineers that walk you through your SAQ preparation. So those are our three core packages, and then we have plus products and services that we have after. So if you need a risk assessment, if you want a PCI readiness assessment, a GDPR readiness assessment, if you need, mention some of those IT tools, you want us to monitor your networks through a log and threat monitoring, we can do that. We can conduct penetration testing, segment checks, etc. on the IT side. So all of that, all of those are options out there. So you see a little bit, this is a little bit more kind of IT related. The GDPR Essentials is a sweeping program that covers everything from IT to your legal need against the GDPR. So all of these are plus services and products available if for customers that have opted for one of our core packages. So yeah, that's a little bit about Venza. Our core business is hospitality. This is a look at some of the members of our team, and we are based, as I'd mentioned, in Atlanta with our office here in The Hague. Hospitality is our focus. I think I've already mentioned that. What else can I share? If in case you're wondering, the GDPR Essentials program, this is a little pamphlet on that. This is a look at the 12. It's a kind of a 12-step program. Sounds like a self-help program, but it's 12 steps. It looks at everything from data mapping, data strategies, to consent management, to helping reevaluate your service level agreements and other such things.
Well, Daniel, thank you very much for your time today. I think we're gonna do a little roundtable discussion here, and if we have any other questions, we'll email you.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye. Yep. Bye-bye.